Good evening and what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Golden Shovel podcast, brought to you by the team here at the Nerd Fandemic. We are back with our regularly scheduled weekly Raw, Smackdown, NXT update, and of course we will be looking back at this weekend's PLE that was Backlash in St Louise, Missouri. I am once again joined by my comrade Roscoe.
How we doing, folks? This is going to be a bumper episode. We got a lot to talk about. We need to dive in.
And we may also see a wild Darchomp collects at some point this evening, but he has been travelling and he's going to do his best to join us. As Ross says, bumper episode, full notepad. I was up to 4 a.m. Sunday morning watching Backlash live. I was up to 4 a.m. this morning watching Raw live because I wasn't getting a chance to catch up, so I am absolutely done in. Firstly, we appreciate everybody's feedback, everybody's comments, and that's got involved in the conversation over the last few days. In the last week, we are replying to everyone, taking every comments on board. We both, Ross and I both sit and listen to these podcasts back in full and watch them and make updates. So this week, for the first time, we're trying OBS scenes, no editing, start to finish,
Seamless,
with a view to possibly doing these live on Tuesday nights moving forward. So a Tuesday night live and then a release straight afterward. We'll start off by just saying we do apologise that there was no live on Saturday night. There's a few tech issues, and although I did watch Backlash live, I did nod off at least 6 times. So a YouTube stream of me sleeping would not have been. Well, maybe it would have done bits, but that would not have been the intention. So we are working on this, but we do believe that this podcast will go live weekly, perhaps in a month or so. One place to start and one place to start only is just to recognise, mention, remember the ECW hardcore legend and absolute maniac who put his body, soul, life on the line every week for the entertainment of the crowd, and that was Sabu. Sabu was mostly his peak mid-90s in ECW before my time in pro wrestling, as we've discussed at length, late 90s, early 2000s, we all kind of got involved. But he was obviously part of the ECW revival at times in WWE. He had the odd one-off match. He was very, very highly spoken of and very, very highly thought of. I would suggest that anyone who wants to know the thoughts and feelings of the people here in the UK on Sabu, go to Twitter, Instagram and TikTok, look at the words from like Grado and Jack Chester. There's a great story from Jack Chester talking about Sabu coming to Glasgow for a show, rocking up with a broken collarbone and saying, right, you're putting me through that table. And Jack just says, you don't have to do it. It's like, the people have paid for Sabu, the people are getting Sabu. So that's the type of guy that Sabu was. I think it's obviously a really sad story. He wrestled his last match a few weeks ago at Mania Weekend. Obviously, it's nice in the sense that he's got to end his career on his terms. He said that was his last match. It was his last match. Obviously, what's happened since then, such a sad tragedy. So, from us here at the Golden Shovel, just thoughts with his friends, family, and in the wrestling world that's been impacted by the work of Sabu over the last 35, 40 years, late 80s. So
it's a long time.
Really sad news from the other day. We were recognising it here at the Golden Shovel. Right, this is a messy week.
Yeah.
The Smackdown particularly intertwines really heavily with Backlash. Raw, a little bit more standalone. So we are just going to jump straight into Backlash, go through the 5 matches, some overall thoughts of the show, and then we'll go back to the usual NXT, SmackDown, Raw run through.
That seems good.
So the overall show for Backlash, I thought was really interesting. We will recognise the fact that Daz and I were 5 for 5 in predictions, and
very impressive.
You did go for Orton, which was a little bit of, I think, let's pick one different.
I don't know. I had a feeling it just that's what it is.
What I thought was really interesting is that we did predict all 5 matches down to a T. Who was eating pins, how the pins would happen, and the fact that we expected 5 somewhat screwy finishes.
It's quite interesting that we're only in. This is episode 5, and it is like we've been writing for the WWE for about 20 years. I thought the pay-per-view was good. I thought it was It was actually, you don't tend to get too many where they are as cookie cutter. Is cookie cutter is maybe a bit strong, I don't know. But overall, each match was pretty good. Each match had sensible finishes. There are some matches that they might lead to some other interesting things that we'll dig in and talk about. And the Never Seen 17 continues as well.
Continues. As Ross alluded to there, this is a podcast where we break down the storylines in the WWE every week with a focus on predicting where they're going to go. We do like to fantasy about. We like to fantasy about with a little bit, at least, of realism and sensibility. So going 5 for 5 in terms of team booking at the weekend isn't luck. It's genuine thought into what's happening right now, where we think things will go, and looking at the way Triple H is booked and his partner booking has been over the past few years. As we've said in multiple episodes, as we started a few weeks ago, we don't tend to see huge changes unless too far away from the big four PLEs. So that's kind of how we're predicting the weekend to go. Let's jump straight in match order. The US title match, Ross, was your baby leading up to the weekend. It was chaos, as you described.
And they decided, do you know what? Let's have some extra chaos. And there was a few instances of that in the card in general where it was chaotic, but this in particular was superb. I was a little bit surprised that they didn't go for the Dom Penta opener the way that we had predicted, but this is that
did appear to be a last minute change. That
is it?
Seemed, I'm sure on Saturday night we were sitting in Discord, and Penta Dom looked like it was opening the show, and this changed about an hour before the show was announced. This was going on first. So I'm not saying it was last minute, but it appeared to be a last minute change.
And in that case, good shout. This was a really, really good way of just getting that crazy amount of energy into that crowd, because they were eating up everything that these guys were serving out. I think that the way that they took McIntyre and Priest out of the match, so they don't have to have a situation where, like, well, one of these guys could go over and actually win a title here. Nope, just going to give them the big spot and then just put them to one side. I thought that was really, really clever. I really liked that. I like that, we have the screwy finish. Fatu retains. And that's kind of what we'd expect. It was too early. And then you kind of get these questions about, right, well, where's this thing going to lead to next? And I mean, the short answer is we have absolutely no idea.
I was just going to say that.
It was absolutely superb viewing. I think all 4 of these guys were great. Yeah, LA Knight eats the pin. Who cares? The guy still loved it. It's not going to make a difference. All in all, thumbs up for me.
His music hit first, and the pop he got was unbelievable.
Sensational.
And I'm in agreement that I'm going to wait to SmackDown this week before I pass judgment of where these stories are going. Saw a prediction and a rumour this earlier. I'll say a prediction for a page on Twitter that Drew McIntyre would make sense as the third guy in the Rollins faction, which I can see it because of who they're feuding with. And he was feuding with him earlier. He was questioning why these people are now helping Roman after the nonsense of the past 4 years. So he needs a wee bit. I still think he should be in the main event. I'm a little bit worried that they're going to do DP and Drew one more time. It just felt like the way it was, the actual match was booked, felt like it wasn't the end. Which, okay, the two of them are fucking brilliant, but at some point we need to move past this. So yeah, it was chaos. It was good. It went exactly as I thought it was going to go. I'd just like to see Jacob have a couple of clean wins, because he is going to be huge and needs to be believable as a mega star, superstar in the future. So, nothing to add. In the interest of moving past the time, it was what it was. It's a filler feud. It was a hell of a filler feud and a hell of a filler match.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is what it is. And that's what it'll be known as. Match 2 in the card was, there wasn't a weak match in the card, but I had this. This might have been my match of the night. Was Lyra Valkyria defeating Becky Lynch.
Fantastic.
I was holding Lyra for a long time, but I was concerned about her presentation. The mic, the promo, the ability to command a ring, an arena, to Becky feud has just put her on a pedestal of like, I think she should be in the picture come Rumble time for a main event. I think she's been that good. Becky's promo on Monday, which we will get to in detail. We'll talk about just now, was phenomenal.
It was really,
she was
good.
less screamy, sitting in the top rope, a bit more casual. She's leaning into the Becky Hogan thing. We all believed that the plan would have been Becky would have won, took the title, line built back up, goes over big later in the year. Whether it's right or wrong, we all said last week that it just feels like that's not the case. It feels like Lyra has gotten over enough that her retaining is the better story. If I was to criticise the booking of the match slightly, it's just that she's now beaten Becky twice, once in NXT, once in the main roster. Both times with sort of roll-up pin combination finishes. It doesn't get the Nightwing over as a finisher.
Yeah.
It's a nice finisher. It's a good finisher. Okay, there's people that use them in different ways and they don't always work as finishers because some people use them as normal moves, but at some point that move needs to get over as a finisher. But I'm all in on Lyra Valkyria. I think she's phenomenal.
Yeah.
She's held this absolutely superb.
I will read from you. This is all I wrote about the match. This is my notes verbatim. Lyra ++++ sensational. That is all I have written, and I think I can echo that. I thought that she that was a level above. I think from the reading I've been doing, the women's rosters in general have been pretty solid, and they've been able to put on good matches for a while. But this is like up there and like some of the best stuff, admittedly with a break that I've ever seen. Like, she is so red hot. You can tell that the fans agree as well. This isn't just a Golden Shovel opinion. This is a WWE Universe opinion that she is destined for the top, and the fans want to see it. And then when you see where the feud's going to go, I agree. Like, I loved that promo on Monday. I thought that Becky was superb, leaning into the, I didn't lose. I don't know what you're talking about. Lean into that kind of heelishness and then go, but if I did lose, it wasn't my fault. And then just the delivery of it as well, excellent. Cannot wait to see where the next stages of that may go. I don't know if that's going to go into more, or if that'll spin off and come back and then spin off again. But
I think there'll be one more. There'll be Bayley's return. It'll spin off and then it might return at some point. There's a world in where Becky's world champion and eventually it's Lyra that takes a world title off in the future. Just their chemistry and things phenomenal. It was a picture perfect match. I've kind of holded the women's feuds in the last few weeks and taking the lead on talking about them, but it's for good reason because I'm thoroughly enjoying them. Talking about the guy stuff's easy. Talking about the women's stuff's sometimes more difficult just to get the same coverage. And you're coming for growing up in the Divas era.
Yeah, which was not women's wrestling.
Women's wrestling wasn't women's wrestling.
Yeah.
So I am a huge Becky stan. I think Becky's phenomenal. The whole man. I don't know for the start when she got called up. Even she was one that got lost early. She was overtaken by the likes of Alexa Bliss in terms of being at the top of her game. The whole man story happens. You're like, this is just so good. Becky tries to turn heel. She punches Charlotte. We're sitting in my living room watching it, and we're marking out.
Yeah, exactly.
We're on our feet. This is exactly what had to happen. They're trying to convince you she's a heel, and there's 23,000 people in that arena going absolute batshit crazy. And all she's done, and I get the Becky Hogan chance, but she made Bianca Belair. She made Tiffany Stratton. She's made Lyra Valkyria. I refuse to accept it. It's part of the storytelling. Lyra Valkyria is huge, and she's going to be massive.
I think it fits as well that obviously they knew each other years and years ago. There is that
there's chemistry.
Yeah, the chemistry's clearly there, and they seem to be able
to. There's a personal. It's easy to be a heel when you can be personal with somebody. We saw that with Tiffany Charlotte before Mania, but they can do it without it being nasty. They talk about, I don't want to be the new Becky Lynch. I want to be me. It's cheesy. It's been done to death, but
it works.
It's easy. It's easy working. It's easy and it works. Unfortunately, you guys are stuck with my dulcet tones because, as we said, we're awaiting the potential arrival of Dark Jump from live from Antalya, Turkey, and I'm covering his bits this evening. So Dom Penta, I'm looking at I've got the Backlash stuff up here on monitor number 3. 9 minutes and 20. That's all it went. Shortest match by a long, long way.
Yeah, I didn't write an awful lot down for this match because of that. It
was good.
It was good. It just was very quick.
Well, let's keep this match short. Dom is a world champion in the making. He is phenomenal. Penta has been booked brilliantly, but we are concerned about his booking in the last few weeks. And I believe if Daz does appear, that he might end up with a golden shovel. There's enough luchadors on the roster. His brother's there somewhere. You would think his brother would come out and deal with JD, but done a deal. Like I get there was. You would talk. I'm sure we mentioned this in episode 1. When it comes to any sort of storytelling, you have to suspend belief, but you have to suspend belief within the confines of that reality or universe.
Yeah, exactly.
In a universe where your brother is in the back and catering,
you would think he would come out.
He would come out and jump. So, all right, it's fine. But Penta has another match on Monday, wins cleanly. I think they just booked Penta so strongly. And then they were kind of backed into a corner come Mania weekend. Dom's undeniable. Before he jumped in here about Ross, there was a rumour appearing last week that, ironically, the backlash to Logan Paul JSO was so strong that this was the pivot. And they pushed that match to Saturday night's main event. Because we were all expecting it. We were all sitting here on Friday night prepping for Backlash, wondering why it hadn't been announced.
Yeah, or is it going to be a mystery
match? Prediction show.
Yeah. That
so,
is interesting. The thing about Penta and the way that they booked him before is that still seems to be carrying him through. Like, we are quite rightly making these points and making these criticisms, because they're like valid criticisms about the booking decisions. When he won on Monday night, and in general throughout that match, crowd bought into it. So probably from a Paul Levesque standpoint, you're probably going, got away with that one. The right guy goes over. It was a short match, but Dom's a superstar. And again, his promos on Monday night, like the backstage segment where he makes the joke about the time zones. Excellent.
JD McDonough's got the skull.
This is the sun. This is you. Yeah. Superb. That's great. I cannot wait to see where the next, probably between now and the next Mania, like if you're talking about the podcast in terms of seasons and wrestling, and a season is WrestleMania to WrestleMania, I am fantastic to see what his end of season finale is going to look like, because I think this could be a special year for us and for him.
I think it's a year too early, but I'd love to see Dom be Intercontinental Champion and hold Money in the Bank.
You might
just
get one of those.
As a character, he is perfect for the Money in the Bank scenario.
Oh yeah,
he's got the heel team behind him. He's funny. The backstage segments are good. He can pop up randomly. If he just randomly appeared on SmackDown one day and just tapped the briefcase, 15,000 people in arena will start going mental.
Yeah,
as a character, he would be perfect. I'll get into why I don't think that's going to happen come Raw. Spoiler alert: the Gunther segment suggests that it's going to be a short Money in the Bank reign again this year. But we'll move past Dom and Penta by saying Penta has the best music in WWE right now. His entrance presentation is phenomenal. Do not ruin it. The Adam Jones Fatal guitar riff is just...
It's good. It's good,
man. It's hype, man. Gunther defeated Pat Matthew by technical submission. Again, let's keep this short. The match went 14 minutes. It was good. If I made 3 or 4 really quick points on the match, Pat got in more offense than I would have liked, but not a bad amount, because it was done in a way that Gunther was egging him on. So it was like, it wasn't like he was getting one over in Gunther. Gunther was giving him the opportunity. The people call them botches, but the mistakes that Pat made, like when he clipped his foot in the top rope and stuff, it should look like that. He's not a seasoned pro. It's not meant to be too choreographed. It's meant to be real.
Yeah, there was even one instance where, like, the first 5 or 6 minutes, he goes for a pin and Gunther kicks out in one, and you're like, of course he's going to kick out in one. Pat's not seasoned in the ring.
The
He's very, very
storytelling and the match. Ultimately, Gunther won the way he was supposed to win by choking him out. Cole got involved, which kept it going a bit longer. And again, my personal favorite, well, two personal things is one is no Goldberg.
Yes.
It was celebration. And this other thing I really enjoyed, Ross, was Gunther showing Pat respect for taking the hits and the bumps after the match, because even though he's a heel as somebody who respects the traditions of the mat and wrestling, and there's a way things are done. And we talked about it the other week where we said it doesn't matter who you are, if you go into that ring and take a bump, even if we don't like you as a person, Logan Paul, we as a group will respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Pat, I respect the amount of times that Gunther chopped the shit out of him. You have to say, yeah, fair play, because I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I must say it is nice to know that Gunther is also one of the loyal listeners of the Golden Shovel, because clearly he gets that. No, this was interesting, because I agree we did not predict or expect that to be what it was. Like, we predicted this was going to be a 5 or 6 minute squash. This was, as you say, was a 14-15 minute dominant match, which is different. It's very different in the way that you expect it to go. Yeah, I think Pat comes out of this looking really good. I think that what surprised me was the offense he got in. Some of the bumps he takes are good. I think we kind of maybe expected that he would take one or two. He gets in a few really good moves. The crowd bought into it as well, which you're always concerned when you've got these kind of gimmicky matches that they might not.
The match went exactly 14 minutes, according to, I say Wikipedia, but it's got a Jason Powell from ProWrestling.net must have timed it. They went bang on 40 minutes, and they told a story for 40 minutes. They told a story of Gunther, who respects professional wrestling, felt disrespected by Michael Cole and Pat McAfee, and felt disrespected by the crowd. And Pat McAfee, who's a loyal motherfucker, as he quoted himself, stood up for his friend and took a beating in the ring. That was the story, and they told it to perfection. There's not going to be any awkwardness on Monday Night Raw, because they shook hands at the end and did the respect bit, and they said, we had a feud, settled the feud, we move on. Perfect.
Yeah.
It was booked better than we had it as a 6 minute match. It was booked better than we could have.
Yeah, it was booked better at twice the length of time. So, I mean, credit to the producers and guys behind the scenes and stuff like that, because I think they took something that could have quite easily been a C match, and made it like a B+, A-. Yeah, like, it was very good.
100%.
What a match! Honestly, I don't know about you, right? When was the last time?
Before you start, can I say one thing? Can I say one thing? I just hope that for at least the next 12 months, all producers in that company remember, one smack to the face with a title belt puts you out.
Yeah.
So you've taken a finish, so just that has to be remembered. That's my only worry.
Yeah.
This is your topic, Ross. Go.
When was the last time you saw a match that was like, take the names, take the faces out of it, right? A slow and methodical match that didn't push too many boundaries, but the crowd just ate every single move, every single movement from both the superstars in the ring. This match it was absolutely superb, even though if you break it down, it didn't push it, but it did not need to. And I think that's where we have to say kudos to these two guys. That was electric.
Only person that's pulled off that type of match in the last few years has been one Roman Reigns. We've discussed his aura. It's aura. We talked about him understanding cinema versus live theatre. When you hear him talking to the crowd, and you hear him talking to the camera and talking to himself and talking to Paul Heyman, and how it's for the people watching at home and not just the people in the arena. This was like that. I can't even tell you what happens for 20 minutes of a 27.50 they went. That's a long ass match.
Feels a bit
right?
Like,
28 minutes they went. I couldn't really tell you what happened for the majority of the match. I just remember not taking my eyes off it. I thought it was phenomenal. The finish was exactly. We knew it was either a shot to the face or it was a slap the ref. Right, so we were 50-50 that, and we were there. We'll bring in the Smackdown talk, because he get faked out and get another RKO in Smackdown, so we'll talk bringing that just so we can skip it later on. Michael Cole also then said on Monday Night Raw that was the last time, after saying last week potentially the last time. So we at the Golden Shovel will now fantasy book and look ahead as in right, it is the last time, because that's changed. What's your thoughts on, is the heel turn still working?
I think so. I think it works. I agree.
It needs the Rock to show up once. It needs the Rock to show up once.
Yeah, it needs either the Rock to show up, or I noticed this a little bit then, I don't know if you did, when he grabs the mic, it's very Doctor of Thugonomics. Some of the ways he was saying stuff, I was like, interesting. He hadn't really spoke like that in the run since, or prior to it.
He can be a face doing that. I think we're in a situation where he turned heel for a reason. We don't yet know what that reason is now. The understanding is that he turned heel, became a corporate champion for advantages that allowed him to win at WrestleMania. That advantage apparently was Travis Scott. That's a shit advantage. Nobody want that. In fairness, a disadvantage. So that's why I just need the Rock to show up once, just to cement the heel turn. It's very clear he'll finish as a face. There's a good chance it's R-Truth that turns him, because that seems to be the way they're going. Post-match, that could be a Saturday Night Main Event match. They've already kind of announced that the final weekend of his career is going to be in Boston, Massachusetts. I have asked permission to fly to Boston. My wife said no, because we are in the middle of moving house. But I'm like, even if I could get the cheapest tickets, I'd be $1,500, £1,000 in for it. And I'm like, it'd be worth it to see it one last time.
Bucket list material.
But there is videos floating about from post-match on Saturday night of the Thank You Cena chants, and he is struggling to hold it together. You have booked the greatest wrestler of all time as a heel for a retirement tour, and no matter what happens when he's in a city for the last time, he is not going to get booed out the building. He'll get his boos and whenever he does his, but ultimately every single WWE fan who has watched for the last 20 years, people our age who grew up with John Cena, want to basically say thank you and goodbye. And I'm gutted that I couldn't make the Raw in Glasgow, because I feel like I've missed it, and that's genuinely why I want to try and get to Boston, or I might try and get to another one of his shows. Maybe SummerSlam. New York's probably easier to get to, where
a little bit.
a one nighter, but it, obviously semantics of surge pricing. As soon as they announced Cena for Glasgow, the price is tripled. That's my only concern. I think he's doing good work, but no one wants to boo John Cena. Like we literally all want to shake his hand and say thanks for the last 25 years.
I think it's nice that we are getting a little bit of both. Like when his music hits, that is some of the loudest John Cena sucks I've heard in a while, and it was non-ironic. John Cena sucks. So people are buying in, and ultimately that's what you want. I don't know if it is going to be truth that's going to turn them, but I think when he does turn back, that the pop will be otherworldly.
I hope it happens before SummerSlam, because SummerSlam isn't MetLife, it's outdoor. No matter what, it doesn't matter how people do the outdoor pops just aren't as good.
Yeah, so at least
I personally believe Mania should be in a dome every year. Don't hold it outside.
No, I think that's fair. I think I agree with that.
He's going to turn face. It could be a double turn with Cody. We don't know what's happening there. He's got some time off. Deserved time off.
Interesting that we haven't had him back yet, with no murmurings, not even a peep. But when he's coming,
and as I said to you in our pre-production meeting there, apart from the Raw men's tag division and a little bit of staleness in the women's division, Raw's blowing Smackdown out the water just now. And the issue is, we all know Cena's holding the title for at least 3-4 months more, at least SummerSlam, if not the end of the year. The US title feud and match was filler. What you giving us? What's there for us? SmackDown's struggling. It needs a shake up. We need things to change in the WWE at the moment. About a movement, about a freshness. Tag division's doing a great job, but we will come to that, and a little bit of confusion in the tag division at the moment. So I think we can wrap up our Backlash predictions there and say we were pretty much on the money.
We were very good, actually. Kudos to us.
In terms of the 5 matches, I thought it was a phenomenal for a B-tier show. It was phenomenal. The 5 matches if you put those 5 matches on the Mania card, all 5 would have made the top 8 matches for Mania.
Yeah, I think
I genuinely believe that.
Each match didn't feel too short or too long. It felt like they they obviously had a clear plan of what they wanted from each one, and I think each one got better than they wanted. So can't really ask for more for a random Saturday night in May.
And we get to that part of the podcast where I ask you how long have we been recording for?
30 minutes.
30. I was going to say 32. That's not bad. So let's see if we can do the 3 shows wrapped up in 30 minutes. And because I'm going to call that the midpoint, this is the part of the podcast every week where I get to sit here and plug all our social media. It is down there because I've now seen the scene and know it's down there somewhere after having to do this for the last 3 weeks. TikTok, YouTube are the best places to get us. Please follow us on Instagram and X as well. But we are trying to narrow in focus on TikTok and YouTube and get some growth there. We do a multitude of different types of content. We're doing a lot of work in WWE. We're doing some nerdy tier lists, some bites, some gaming news. We've done some reactions to the Grand Theft Auto news and some of the other stuff that's coming. We're also massively into the Pokemon TCG at the moment. So basically, we're just spending money to make TikToks. And hopefully, eventually, we'll make some of that back. So both Ross and I are working on some interesting nerdy projects at the moment, which we won't say too much, but major stonks.
Yeah,
it's essentially the goal with these. It's essentially the goal with these 2 projects. So, we are trying to grow this as best we can. This is a personal highlight of my week, to be honest. Is sitting down after watching 7 hours of wrestling on a Monday night and a Tuesday morning to record this podcast. So, at the Nerd Pandemic and all the usual places, DMs and comments, everything is being replied to at the moment. And we'll hopefully catch you on one of those pages very soon.
Yeah, get involved, folks.
NXT. So we have rejigged the podcast a little bit, and we are bringing in the quick hit segment, which we trialed last week, where we roll as much of the shows into this happened, here's our thoughts, moving on, so that we can focus on the big ticket items as best we can. NXT, we'll skip the quick hits this week. There is 2 topics to discuss at length. I'll start with Jordan Grace versus Julia. What a fucking match that was. And I know I'm going to keep it short. People were criticising online saying Julia got dropped on her head 3 times in a row. I guarantee you that lassie's lying there smiling in the mat. That is proper hard Japanese style wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
It's a strong booking for Julia because she takes a pin after being dropped on her head 3 times, which looks really, 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 really good for her. She's working the main roster. We did say last week or the week before that the expectation would be Jordan Grace to go over. She takes the title for Stephanie Vicaire. Both look strong. Stephanie Vicaire moves on to the main roster full time. The only way that doesn't happen is if they try and hold her back for Worlds Collide with AAA. However, we all know there's history there with
other wrestlers, shall we say.
Other wrestlers, yes. I'm trying to think the right word to be respectful of the situation without being overly speculative, but yes, there's issues with other wrestlers within that organisation. So that'll be my prediction moving forward. I think it's dead straightforward. Stephanie Vicaire's ready for the main roster. So is Jordan Grace, but Jordan Grace can do the job for the next person coming through. And the women's division as a whole is looking incredibly strong.
Yeah, it is. It's looking very strong. I was almost one of those people online. After when the first time it happened, I was like, oh, Christ, that did not look good. And then when it happened again, I was like, oh, I get it. And then it happened again.
The third time, you're like, right, okay, they must know what they're doing now.
I'm in. Very good match. I think the pair of them come out of that looking great. I know that we've had a lot of flip-flopping with the women appearing on the main roster, and I think that it is doing every single one of them like massive amounts of like respect that they're getting, because they're coming up, they're holding their own. They're not necessarily winning, but they're holding their own in the main roster. But when they're given the time in NXT, they're shining. Like the future is very bright.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to say in that. A hell of a match. Main roster PLE quality match. Again, in fact, I've been extremely impressed with the women's side of things since we started doing these podcasts. As much as I watch prior to the podcast, Raw and Smackdown would be on the telly. I would be in the area of the telly, the vicinity, and whether I caught most of it or not, I'm actively sitting down watching these shows, and the women at the moment predominantly is can't miss TV.
Yeah, it really, really has been fantastic these last few weeks. I feel like I've missed out on something until we started this. That's how good it's been.
Yeah. Battle Royal. Men's
Yeah,
side.
I'm going to say something a little bit controversial, not about this match, but in matches in general. Battle Royales, with the exception of the Rumble, which isn't quite, but they don't tend to do it for me. And I think it's because, on the whole, the first half of it is an absolute mess until it narrows down. But this one was actually pretty reasonable at the start. I felt like it kind of got me in, probably because much maligned Lexus King goes out second. We have spoken about him, about how we have some concerns. I now officially have a concern with Lexus King and what's going on there. But I think that we got a really good match. We're now all walking with Elijah. I did not see that.
It's nice to see the third brother make it to the big leagues. So Elijah obviously joining Ezekiel and Elias with an appearance in WWE, which is always good to see.
He has made it out of the Impact Zone, and credit to him. He's managed to get out there.
And he's back next week.
But I will say I didn't know, obviously, as someone who's only been back in a few weeks, who I expected to win the Battle Royal.
Baby RKO.
Yeah. It's an interesting choice, isn't it? Because he's got the look. Like, that is probably how Vince McMahon would draw his World Heavyweight Champion. And I think he's doing it. I think he's done a reasonable job with the backstage segments I've seen. Is like, okay, he looks believable. But we see what happens.
He's not ready for the title yet. I feel like this is the...
Is this the tester, do you think?
This is the put him in the position, work on whatever the gap is, and he'll be there 6 or 8 months is my prediction. He's
knocking
ready.
On the door, would you say?
Yes, he's knocking on the door, but he's not busting through yet. So they'll tease him, they'll test him with over, working with these people, and then there'll be an adjustment for where he goes next.
Overall, decent match.
So that would be
fun finish.
That would be my prediction.
Yeah.
Can I just blow my own trumpet again this week and say that on last week's podcast I suggested that Trick Williams is one of these guys at the top of that card that feels a little bit stuck in that logjam. So the week before we predicted some future endeavours that happened. Really concerned that Trick could go the same way as Melo, where he goes to the main roster, puts on a hell of a matches, but then eventually the stories dry up and he's now in this ridiculous mid-card situation with The Miz. And I suggested perhaps if there's a way for getting Joe Hendry and Ed, I would be a bit earlier, Trick Williams to NXT, he could be a champion in NXT, part of this deal.
Kind of looks like they might have just went, that's a good idea. Let's just do that.
And he's off the TNA to challenge Joe on a TNA show. So I'm not saying he's going to go over, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but he's now been allowed to lead a show out with the comfort of the PC. So I think that's every week we've been banging the money with some sort of prediction, not just a match prediction, a genuine story prediction. So we're on the ball with our stuff, and that actually leads me into my next segment perfectly. So every week here at the Golden Shovel, we award the eponymous, prestigious Golden Shovel Award to the booking decision that leaves us scratching our heads. It either kills someone's momentum or it just leaves us completely confused as to where these stories are going. We are changing up ever so slightly this week, and that as we move through the show, as we're talking about segments, we'll just say this is something that I would throw in for the Golden Shovel this week, and at the end it will just say that's it, rather than repeating a full conversation. We did it by accident last week, and it was just dead easy at the end. We were left with one story. This week, so far, for me, the pent-up conversation's not going to go away. But it might if the reaction to his music disappears. The Lexus King story's there, but I still see a story with that where you hit rock bottom and you have to bounce back, but it's there. I've got a bold thing I want to throw out there in a few weeks. In a few minutes when we get to Raw.
Interesting.
But yeah, the Golden Shovel this week, as I've been prepared for podcast, feels difficult because ironically Backlash went exactly as we thought. Therefore, it's really hard to be confused by a booking decision.
I think there's one on Raw, and I think it's the same one we're thinking about. Same instances where there's something sticks out. I'm interested to hear what you got to say.
I'm interested. That's good. That's interesting. So that we might be on the same page. Yes, maybe another easy one.
Mm.
So, Smackdown was. I mean, I could nominate Smackdown for the Golden Shovel. Just the fact that it's now the night before a PLE, you get the impression that they're trying not to injure people.
It was only 2 hours long, I think. Pretty much 2 hours and 5 minutes or something.
It has been shorter for the last few weeks, which is really helpful on a Saturday morning when you're trying to squeeze it in. I'll start with the quick hits. So we've talked Cena Orton. The story's probably done there, at least for a period of time. They got his script. They did get his script, and we loved the story. Probably our two goats growing up between the three of us, just age-wise, they're right at the top of Mount Rushmore for that reason. The US tag match, again, it was what it was. It set up the Saturday night. Saturday night went exactly as we predicted to go. Fine. Moving on. Aleister Black versus Melo with the Miz. I just don't know what the plan is here. Aleister Black has had a lot of momentum in his return. I feel like it's at risk. I feel like Melo is at risk of just being another guy in the card. And if I was being brutally honest, Melo just screams All Elite Wrestling to me. It just looks that way, and I think he's better than that. But what is the plan with Melo? And I'm once again asking the question: can the SmackDown luchadors fight people who aren't luchadors?
It's actually illegal. Did you know?
I feel like I've been watching Legado del Fantasma and the LWO and these various members just fight each other for a year and a half now, and I don't know what's going on. Compared to how well the luchadors have been managed on Raw, which we will definitely get to.
It's because they're rotating out. I mean, they're fighting against. Sometimes they're fighting against Chad Gable. Sometimes they're against El Grando Americano. They're mixing it up. It works.
So there's 3 talking points left from SmackDown. We'll talk the women first. Nia versus Jade. Again, kind of went exactly as we thought it was going to do. They've made Jade look really strong in the last few weeks. She's lost this match in a straight finish. Naomi's involved again. Nia goes over. Nia versus Tiffy for the title, which exactly we predicted 2 weeks ago. It was the right feud. It feels right. Stand by what I said last week before. I think Nia should go over. I think we need to see Tiffany chase the title without Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting. I think that would be something that would be interesting to see. The match itself wasn't great in my opinion. I thought it was a little slow, a little bit clunky. Gets there in the end with what we kind of expected. That could just be me through my anti-Nia Jax tinted specs on, but in general, I watch her and just makes me sigh. And she's probably the only wrestler who's left on the rosters that make me think that. But yeah, I think it will be very interesting to see that mentality shift. If Tiffy can hold her own, if it goes the way that we think it will go. I mean, I don't know when that match is scheduled. Is that meant to be a Saturday night main event thing? Is that the next PLE?
Maybe knows. No one knows.
Could even be this week.
that is a spoiler towards my Golden Shovel nomination this week. Is the question you just asked there. So that's went how we thought it was going to go. I love Nia's presentation as a heel. Now, the Annihilator's a finisher. It's like sitting there staring at the camera, arms folded. You're like, I fucking hate you, but I'm supposed to hate you. Yeah, well done. You've got the right heat versus the go-away heat that was there before. So I think major props to Nia for that. Still believe that one of them, Nia or Naomi, should go to Raw and be a heel on Raw. Because the reaction to Rhea and Io's kind of half stared down is not very good. So yeah, that match was fine. Daz had 2 segments to cover, which obviously is not here. So Alexa returning, and then that'd be teased backstage, Ross.
Yeah, a little wink, nudge, nudge. Do you want to come and team up with me, Charlotte? I'm intrigued here. I don't have a clue what the hell this is going to be. I think that we speculated.
I love the idea of Charlotte doing something different, though.
Yes, because she needs to. Because I think that heat that she was getting was go-away heat. That's not heel heat. So give the fans something different they could buy in. We had a brief chat off air about where we expect this to go with the Wyatts, and that's probably DOA now. That's fine. I think that's okay. It had its fun, had its day in the sun.
Didn't work.
It can just go and set out to pasture. I'm very glad that she's back because she's great to watch. I think in her match, Alexa Bliss looked like she hadn't really missed a beat. It was good. It was a decent match. She came out looking strong. Now you have this hint about what's happening next. Dare I say, a decent booking decision coming with that.
Alexa Bliss is the best female heel on the roster. I will stand by that statement. She is, even as a face, she's really this kind of tweener, to be honest. But the gimmick, the goddess gimmick, the Sister Abigail DDT is a beautiful finisher that puts people away.
Yeah. Really enjoyed
the
that
presentation that she has, the way she talks, the way the expressions when she tries to talk down to somebody and be the superior she's phenomenal at it.
She actually has one of the most expression-filled faces. It's very impressive.
She's an actress.
Oh,
she's
yeah,
an actress. She's phenomenal.
She could easily get the John Cena treatment if she wanted to. You could disappear off to Hollywood and just make serious bank.
Yeah. Aye, so great to see Alexa back. Shame she's been off TV for so long, just with the White Six. Unfortunately, the White Six look what they've done, but who'd have thought that it might not totally work without Bray?
Yeah.
I'm glad they tried it. I think it's just unfortunate injuries and timing.
Yeah. It is what it is, isn't it?
It is what it is. It hasn't worked. And then the last bit from SmackDown is the Street Profits versus Fraxium. I will throw this into the discussion for the Golden Shovel this week.
Okay.
Ironically, because I just feel we felt like we mentioned last week it did get the Golden Shovel, the Fraxium situation. Predominantly the referee, the situation with Elton Prince getting knocked out, concussed, chin hanging off, and everything else.
A combination of those three things.
It was poor. It was poor. Disappointing to see in this day and age in the E. To then throw them into the tag champs 2 weeks after the greatest TLC match we've ever seen and have them go over like there's other. Like, is it as simple as saying DIY and the Guns didn't need another loss? Street Profits, having been so hot, could deal with the loss, maybe. But you're now in a position where you have to put Fraxium in that title picture.
Yeah, you need to, because you built them now. You've spent that time and you built them.
But you have to go and send somebody to Raw immediately, because we will get there in a few minutes, but that division's on.
Smouldering in the corner.
This is on life support, but the hospital's on backup generators at the same time.
Yeah, you have a few minutes.
Fucking struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they can probably get away with that match against Street Profits because obviously they try and ham up the whole Street Profits ain't fit. It's viable. I can buy it. I can suspend belief and go, well, you know, these two guys who have won the last couple of matches could be people who are 80% fit.
I mean, the guy that gets speared off hanging from the belts and landed through a table isn't fit. I mean, as you say, as we always say, within the confines of the realities of the WWE universe, that there's plausible story there that they weren't 100%.
You are right, though, is that they kind of have to now immediately continue this almost skip that they've made of the queue, and they need to keep on skipping because you can't really halt that now because who's there to halt that?
Do they win or do they lose? That's the question.
Yeah.
Because if they lose, is that the momentum gone? If they win, do you just kill what you've done with the Street Profits in the last 6 months? Because they, again, said that last week Street Profits were stock was basically at an all-time low with the injuries and they weren't on TV, and the tag division was doing really well. The Guns came back and got a great reaction, and then the Street Profits are like, this is what we expected of them. So a difficult situation they're in, but all in all, that is a hell of a strong division right now.
Yeah, it is the direct opposite of Raw's tag division, and
it's the only bit in Smack. Again, the women's SmackDown doing a good job, but it's the only bit of SmackDown that's like
highly functioning,
and makes sense week to week and long term. You know, the US title picture on SmackDown was really good fun for lot in chaos for the last month. However, it doesn't make sense long term.
Yeah, exactly.
We are doing no bad for time, I think. Jumping into Raw. So again, let's start with the quick hits. Let's get the quick hits at the road. That seems to have worked well for us in terms of this function way of running the podcast. So Cena Orton this week. Michael Coleman get a notepad back out for this. because this is all my good notes for this morning. Cena Orton this week, Michael Cole did say was the last time, after saying potentially the last time last week, so the tease is now gone. Maybe he's been warned. I have just wrote the Raw tag division sucks ass. Last week I said the division was struggling, but I still believed in the teams. I am done with whatever the fuck the Viking Raiders are called this week.
War Raiders, I believe.
Not War Raiders, just not doing it for me. I watched the match last night at 2 o'clock and I still couldn't tell you who they were wrestling.
Yeah, allegedly.
American Made.
Yeah, allegedly it was them. I watched all of Raw today, and the crowd were in agreement. Like, I get in general, the crowd
poor the whole night.
Potentially, right? But the crowd were not buying what they were selling. And I get that you can sometimes get that when really that segment's not for the people in the arena, that a match in the segment is for those watching at home, because the whole thing is meant to be the New Day being heels on comms. I can get that to an extent, but I just didn't care. And it's a problem that the New Day have had for a while. I just don't care. And that is such a shame, because when it was the three of them, like the walk down the ramp when the Hardys music hits, right? That whole, it just works because it was them and what they were doing. And I get that things can become stale, whatever else, but just turn them face again. Like, it just doesn't work. And maybe it's a symptom of the division's just terrible, therefore everything's looked at worse. I don't know. It just
this is meant to be the quick hit, and I almost think we could spin this off into a whole mini episode on what the hell's going on tag division. I'm not buying into it. I think the issue with the New Day is you had the veteran presence in Kofi when he won the title, was a huge moment. You had Xavier Woods making his case to be King of the Ring and an IC champion, and he's done one of them. You had Big E eventually pushing to the main event, and he got there. They've done that. Big E's probably never coming back.
Sadly,
it's just
yeah.
a shame. And as much as I love Kofi and Xavier, I'm just not buying it. I think the situation with Odyssey Jones last year maybe was a momentum killer, because that could have been. We have replaced Drew Big E.
Mm-hmm.
Right now it's just them, and I'm not. I love the New Day. I love the guys as individuals, because I was fans of them. Less so Big E, because he kind of bust onto the scene in WWE, but we were fans of Kofi Kingston back in 2009 when he should have been champion. I was a fan of Xavier Woods when he was Consequences Creed in TNA back in the day. I'm going way back. I'm bored, and again, for a potential Golden Shovel nominee, throwing American Made into that, it's just buried them. I now have no interest in them. These guys are monster athletes working with Chad Gable, getting over, and I'm just like, I don't want to see them on my TV ever again.
They'd almost sort of were commentating on them like as if they were like the also runs. It was the way that it was like, oh, well, it's the guys you're facing. You'll be glad of that. You're like, did you just bury them on comms?
Aye. Just bury the up and coming tag team. Yeah,
it's my Golden Shovel nominee personally, because it was just it's a nonsense. It's total nonsense. I don't get it, but also what I can sort of get my head around, I don't like. So
it's not my nominee, but I am having turned a quick cat into about 3-minute segment. It's probably going to wind up with it. Spoiler alert to anybody that's watching. We'll put something up that says if you don't want to know the results, look away now. Styles versus Balor, solid match.
Very good match.
Very good match. Again, obviously the finish, but what's the payoff in this story? I know Styles wants to go after the IC title, but we'll see what happens next week.
Yeah,
I'd love the payoff to be a Balor and Styles tag team run,
something like that.
An ode to the Bullet Club. Styles has been very vocal that he won't wrestle beyond the age of 50. He is currently 48.
We are running out of time.
Let's not waste his last 18 months. Let's get this right. I'm assuming maybe Mania 27 roughly will be his done day. So let's not fucking run that. Let's do something with him. He's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He was the reason that I would watch TNA back in the day. He basically as an athlete, but they didn't build the company, but
He was
that's
huge.
where they hitched their wagon to.
Yeah,
20 years
the
ago.
only downside to this match for me was actually the fact that they didn't make an awful big deal about the fact that it was these two guys having a singles match against each other.
Yeah.
They didn't hype it up as much as what, people at home and people in the arena probably go, well, this is Styles versus Balor in a singles match. And yeah, they delivered. I just wish there was some stakes. That's the gripe, is I just wish there was something on the line.
It's two main eventers. There's two main eventers.
But overall was excellent.
Couple more quick kits. Try and keep the timing and the pacing good, because as the Money in the Bank qualifiers start next week.
They do, yeah.
We'll talk about them in a little bit more detail. I've mentioned that Dom would be great, but it's not going to happen. On the women's side, I think it's more open. I think Naomi as a heel might be an option there, but perhaps it's one of the new up and comers as a way to elevate them. The way that Tiffany got that bump last year, it was huge for Tiffany. So that option's there, and I'm going to bring the main event into this segment because we did discuss these women at length last week. I'm really enjoying the Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Julia and Roxanne sort of storyline that's been back and forward in the last few weeks. I was very vocal last week, and I'm going to say the same again. They are being booked very strongly. Losing to Rhea and Io is not a bad thing. It's how you're presented in the match. It was a very good tag team main event. I am enamoured by Julia in the ring. I think she's phenomenal. I am really mesmerised by the way Roxanne walks and moves. She's a short person and she walks the bottom two ropes beautifully. I mentioned it last week. I just think it's fun to watch. She's not, the springboard moonsault stun on Monday night was the second rope. When she's running the rope, she drops to the second rope. It's fun. It's interesting. It's different. It fits her style as a shorter wrestler. But ultimately, let's just not have Rhea versus Io again. It's Rhea. I get that Rhea's almost a victim of her own success. She's been so good, and her character has continually evolved. If you look at her in the first Mae Young tournament, she was like sort of blonde hair, blue eyes, fresh faced.
Yeah,
then she got a few tattoos. Then she get the first sort of shape bit in her head. She had the long trousers on. Then she's evolved and she's getting more tattoos and she's shortened the outfits and stuff. So she joined Judgment Day and got a huge pop. Then Judgment Day kicked Edge out. She got a huge pop. Then she split away. So she's had enough evolution of the same character that meant that she's not got stale the way we talk sometimes about Charlotte and these people, in Bayley when she was a face the first time round. But it's just getting there now. So I get it's difficult when you have this powerhouse of a woman who should be ending that roster. But there are other people. Just do something different. That's all I'm asking for.
See, what's interesting is that the crowd are obviously still on the Rhea train, because it was about the only reaction that match got last night was when Ripley was involved, which probably goes back to the crowd weren't great.
Is that because you're maybe only seeing her once a year in person?
Maybe
so you react like that, but when it's the week out on TV, you get a different reaction. I think she's the best woman on the roster at the moment.
I mean,
top three anyway. Io's probably up there as well. I love watching her wrestle. I just don't want it to be like, here she comes again. But like I said, there's nowhere else for her to go because she has been that good. She's had no injuries. She's had no real time injuries, no real time off. She's literally been like a workhorse the whole time in that roster. That's not her fault. The last two sort of quick hits just to mention, we discussed Becky's promo, we discussed the Backlash match with Lyra. Yeah, I see a path for that feud to continue. More than happy with that. And the final thing is, what are we doing with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory? I'm done with it. I'm sick of it. Put us out of fucking misery. Put them in NXT, release them, split them up, just do something. It is beyond boring. It's crap. Even when they eventually turns, Austin Theory's been made to look an absolute idiot for weeks on end. Just do something.
It's very bizarre. I can't remember the last time they had so many teases to and then not pulling the trigger on the thing that everyone just can see in front of them. I don't get it either. It's not necessarily shovel. It's probably pretty close to a shovel nomination, but
I don't care enough
man.
for it to be.
It's just weird.
I don't care enough about it to be a shovel. I think they were buried before we started the podcast. It's hard
Yeah. Can't
to
dig them
say.
back up and bury them again, I
But
suppose.
both guys are safe pair of hands. They might be the type of person that should go to NXT and be the NXT champion, tell out over to do something else without losing momentum, and then put the next person over.
Good work.
Especially Theory. So we're left with a few main stories. All three of them. We'll start with Penta versus Gable. Obviously, it was good of Chad Gable to step in for El Grande Americano and short notice. El Grande
Who
Americano
is definitely a different person, by the way. Definitely a different
also
person.
definitely on tour in Mexico because, as we all know, publicity tours with no publicity do happen. That's why there are no cameras on this tour of Mexico.
Yeah, it's very secretive.
You know what? I almost want to throw a shovelly nomination towards them for this because I just feel like it's burying Gable. A year ago, we were all gutted that he didn't win the IC title, and now he's a comedy act with a loaded mask.
I don't know what it is, man. It's really, it gets that little childish bit of sense of humour that's in the back of my head. That's just like, it's just stupidly fun, you know. And wrestling's supposed to be fun. Let's just let them have this, whatever the hell it is. I don't know where it's going. It's kind of funny day to day. Match was decent. I thought Penta came out looking pretty good. I think at one point he hits a Mexican destroyer at one point, and it just looked so clean and powerful. Really
spiked.
Yeah, really, really good fun fat. And yeah, El Grande Americano, Chad Gable, they're both fun. Just don't know where the hell they're going to go with it, but it's.
That's my concern. My concern is that we're moving towards Penta and Phoenix as Lucha Bros in the E, and if that happens, I'm okay with it. I'd like to see Penta as a single star, but that division's on life support, so if that's what saves it, that's what saves it. It's a strong booking if you save a whole division, isn't it?
Very much so.
But like I said, I feel like Gable's momentum's stalled. I mean, you put in the fact that he's working with the guys in American Made, and we were really disappointed with what happened on Monday night. Is at the end of Gable? Was the Alpha Academy a better story a year ago? It's the same story. He's just recycling the same story every year with him. So what is the plan? Because I think he was unlucky last year not to be IC champion. Let's do. We've got Punk and Sammy versus Rollins and Breaker, but for Saturday night's main event with the opening promo, JSO involved. The J Punk promo, very clearly teasing the third man. So the third man's either a third man or it's a Sammy turn. We just a message from ads in our wrestling chat saying that the rumour about or the potential for somebody like Drew doesn't make sense. He's an up and comer. To me, Braun Breaker's the up and comer.
I would say so. You need someone more established to carry.
So it doesn't have to be that level up and comer. I'm not sure who it is, and I'm happy to speculate. I'm happy that they're building to a reveal that's going to just, I keep using the word, just push somebody up a level.
Yeah.
Like, we all know how we felt when the camera panned from Roman Reigns to Paul Heyman sitting there, and we all went, this is fucking genius. This makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And we were all, when Braun Breaker was pulled out with Seth Rollins' dog 2 or 3 weeks ago, we all went, yes, this is exactly what Braun Breaker needs to move from the IC title to the holding pattern that prepares you for an inevitable world championship run because he's fucking box office. It's a slow build. It gives the storyline depth, longevity. I'm intrigued.
I'm very intrigued because it's not inherently obvious where it's going, but it's not inherently obvious in a way that I can, put my feet up and go, I will let this burn. I think it's because everyone who's involved in it has that level of credibility coming in, and you know that they've done it before where you can go, well, yeah, okay, show me what you got. I thought Punk's promo was very, very good. I thought that was a really, really nice way, and then setting it off. Yeah, there's this third man. Who's it going to be? You then obviously get the whole J inserting into it, where they're doing a really, really good job of making him really feel like there's a target on his back. Feel like every week something's happening. Someone's trying to go for that title. He's getting laid out backstage. That's intriguing. Like that. It does make it feel like there is no way he can hold it for too much longer with all the heat on him, but that can work as well. I like that they've got options. They've got options a way they can take this, and they don't have to do them all at once, and they can stretch this out for a full 6 months, a year if they want to. I'm invested.
The reason it works so well is that Seth Rollins is, and I said this last week before, Seth Rollins might be the best professional wrestler of the last 10 years.
He just
it's him or Roman.
Gets it.
Braun Breaker could be the best in the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And ring talent, the way he runs the ropes is phenomenal. It's a spectacle to watch. But we all know that if you hitch an up-and-comer or someone to the Paul Heyman wagon,
you know where you're going.
Where that goes. That's why it's so intriguing, because whoever gets that spot is almost certainly going to hold a world title at some point.
Yeah,
because that split is going to lead to a bit like the Shield split. Even though we never got the Shield triple threat, they'll fought each other and we had lots of matches. This is not Shield-esque yet, not Evolution-esque, but that's what we get when a 3-man stable splits. We get a triangle of
possibilities
and feuds. So I'm done speculating. I'm happy to for my story. I'm happy to say, you know what, they're doing a good job. Every week I'm watching these promos and I'm looking for the wee signs and I'm watching the body language and I'm like, the fucking bastards have got me again. And that takes us lovely into the last is the World Heavyweight Championship general picture. Jay was attacked backstage by Braun Breaker. We fully expect Seth Rollins to hold that title at some point this year. That's less of a given than we thought 2 weeks ago, but it's still more than likely, especially if we're looking towards the ultimate push of Braun Breaker when that split happens. This is actually my official nomination for this week's Golden Shovel. Because we don't know for sure, but we mentioned there was speculation about the Backlash for Backlash led to the title match being pushed to Saturday night's main event. So your World Heavyweight Championship wasn't on your post-Mania pay-per-view, despite having more of a build-up than any other match just about with the Logan Paul situation. Fine, it happens. We had a great show anyway. The title wasn't going to change hands, so stick it on the glorified house show that is Saturday night main event. Then Gunther comes out and cuts a promo, whilst 11,000 people chant "You tapped out," which we can mention that as part of a separate Shovelly or a part of this. And then he announces that he's been granted his rematch on Monday, the 9th of June, in Phoenix on Raw, which is conveniently 2 days after Money in the Bank. So I did double check. Money in the Bank is in California, so we shouldn't be dealing with one of these DUI travel scenarios that the Usos have dealt with before.
That's good to get that out of the way.
Yep, so it's worth mentioning that. Logan, it's not in Japan, so Logan Paul has not actually getting to Japan. So my concern here is that back-to-back PLEs with active feuds for your World Championship, where your World Championship does not appear on the show, whilst also really strongly teasing some sort of cash-in. Like, depending on who wins that Money in the Bank, if it was Rollins, we were all saying there's a cash-in on Monday night, Braun Breaker's going to spear the shit out of everybody, and Rollins is going to cash in.
Yeah.
It protects Gunther, protects Jay, it puts title on Rollins. So that I'm just ranting now about the situation. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it, but that would be my nomination. Is like, what the fuck are they doing with the World Heavyweight Championship?
Is an interesting.
Well, saying that Jey Uso is still the man.
Yeah,
and having thousands of people chant one more time for you to eat is,
and they just keep on doing it, they keep on going. Like,
control.
His reign's been better than I think anyone expected, but I agree, it is a little puzzling because it's kind of hard to tell. You know, have they gave the game away a little bit, or are they trying to get people to work themselves into a shoot? It's really hard to tell. It could be one of these ones that in the next weeks and months we have a conversation and go, do you know what, they actually kind of pulled the wool over our eyes a little bit here. This actually worked reasonably well. I don't think it can work to the way that it's some other big storylines are working in the E right now. I don't think the payoff can be that level, but there is a concern that they may have just chucked it a little bit. Not shovel for me yet, but could stray into that category in the future.
We do have the European. We do have the European tour.
Okay.
In August. I mean, you look at the European tour, it does say World Heavyweight Champion Gunther. Now, that press release was in March when he was World Champion, so I wouldn't be too much into it, but we do have the European tour. Is there a potential situation where they're putting it back on Gunther for Europe? I don't know. I don't think they would necessarily do that for a summer tour, because this is immediately after SummerSlam.
Okay.
Leading into Clash in Paris, SummerSlam comes first, so that maybe not, maybe it's too far apart. I mean, again, they've got me because I'm going to watch another episode of Raw live at 1 in the morning because there's a chance I'm going to see a cash in, and cash ins are brilliant. Again, that's that bury money in the bank as a spectacle, because we've kind of the Drew McIntyre didn't hold it long last year. We've seen a lot, particularly on the men's side, in the last few years, of failed cash ins because it just hasn't worked. And they've seemed to not like having both briefcases appear for too long.
Yeah, it's better to have one be a little bit shorter and one a little bit longer.
So maybe it's just a big swerve. But Gunther announcing that so far in advance is just interesting. But again, why is it not on the PLE? So hopefully that'll come out. And maybe there's a genuine reason for it. But it's just an interesting topic. Maybe the reason is Netflix are paying a fuck ton of money. Oh no, it's not even on Netflix in the US, so maybe there is no reason for it.
NBC.
NBC's gets Saturday night's main event. It's Peak. Is it, I think it's still Peacock?
Is it still
NBC, Peacock? NBC, I don't know. So hopefully there's a valid reason for that. But I am concerned that, we discussed that Seth Rollins holding that title this year would have been to get it back to the level it needs to be at. We agreed that Jey Uso had done a phenomenal job since holding the title, and we were all in on him having a longer reign than probably initially we expected. I still think that could be the case, but we fantasy book, we predict ahead. Is it a cash in to get the belt on somebody else for SummerSlam season? That's the question I would ask. You're a month out of SummerSlam. Rollins will be in one of the top feuds. Is it Rollins? Is it Punk? Is Punk going to be the first 3-time Money in the Bank winner? Is it Reigns? Is it an up and comer? I feel like the men's Money in the Bank this year, which again we could maybe discuss, and we keep talking these extra episodes, but we're struggling for time here. The men's Money in the Bank this year is a surefire cash in winner. It's been too long. At least in my head, it feels like it's been too long on the men's side.
I can get behind that. I think that you could be onto something. You kind of need to bring back the credibility, otherwise you're always going to look at and go, "Oh, well, the women's, I can believe that, but this one, it's just the interesting situation they've got is there's actually a lot of people that you can make a really good case for. It's just which way do they go? It probably all depends on how all of these feuds that they're starting off, how they start ebbing and flowing, because it's almost too early to say, but Money Bank is also not that far away. So
it's in my head I think it's Money Bank's a long time away. It's only about 3 weeks now.
It's very soon.
Is this part of the issue? Because you would anticipate Logan Paul would be in Money in the Bank.
Yes.
And is that the issue? If they book it for this Saturday night, Logan's not taking the title, but we know he's not taking the title anyway. It's just protecting that. Logan Paul's a potential Money in the Bank holder. Again, you think of the storytelling over the next 6 or 8 months, but I'm confused. I think we're at the situation now where we could rant about this for a while. I think we cut it there, and we say that this has been our weekly recap, and now we're trying to award the golden shovel. I personally, after listening to the conversation and driving the conversation as well, Ross, I would suggest that this World Heavyweight Championship picture is a solid runner-up this week, but it's going to bubble away in the background for the next couple of weeks and may end up winning it. I think the point you made about the fact that it felt like the commentary were burying American Made gives it to that particular
I think so.
situation. The tag division has buried itself. They've been given ample time and they've put on a crock of shit for months on end on Raw. However, you must be really happy that's who you're facing. Who were a tag team who were built up coming out of NXT is the next big thing.
Yeah, it just didn't sit right with me. I didn't like it.
Momentum killer. So, officially, this week, the Golden Shovel passes from the Smackdown tag division to the Raw tag division, although it was the referee's fault last week.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are we being overly harsh on the Raw tag division? I just personally find it boring. And I'm worried that that's where JS was heading back to his brother to try and salvage it. But at the same time, the New Day are one of the greatest tag teams of all time, and if they can't salvage it, then something needs to fundamentally change there. This has been episode 5 of the Golden Shovel podcast. This is our weekly recap of all things WWE with a clear focus on the stories, the booking, and the elements of the shows that leave us scratching our heads and asking what the fuck is going on here. This has been another episode with a PLE and with Saturday Night Main Event, Money in the Bank coming thick and fast. We have got a hell of a lot of wrestling to watch in the next 6 weeks.
We do.
However, it has been thoroughly enjoyable so far on our journey into the world of wrestling and otherwise content creation. So, once again, Roscoe signing off.
I enjoyed that. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. As Saunders says, we're going to have a lot to cover. So, keep your eyes and ears out.
Yeah. And from myself, everyone, take it easy, guys, and we'll catch you in the next one.